Welcome to the I'm Still Here podcast. I'm your host, Heather Jose. In 1998, at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It changed everything for us, but I'm still here. And we're here to talk to you about life with metastatic disease. We know it's not easy. We know that there are challenges that never get talked about, but we're here to walk with you through them, to show you some hope, some inspiration, and to help you make a plan so that you can join me in saying, I'm still here. Welcome back. I am flying solo today. I haven't done this in a while, but I had some things I wanted to talk about, and Larry was under the weather over the last week, and I thought I'd give him a break. But if you live in the United States, you know that the Super Bowl just happened, and whether or not you are a football person, I think one of the things that I've heard the most talk about has been, one, the halftime show. That was great. But the second is the commercial that Novartis did about breast cancer. And I find it absolutely just appalling that the way that we have to get people's attention about breast cancer is to shake our breast. And I find it absolutely appalling that in doing that, a commercial like that, it just feels like everything is about the breast and none of it is about the person. As long as we have breasts to shake, I guess we're doing okay. They're talking that 30-second slot for the Super Bowl commercials is about $8 million. And I don't know. I feel like my doctor would probably like $8 million to come to her lab. I'm not trying to be like a pessimist with all of this, but we have it all wrong. Like, we're never, until we actually care about women's health in a way that isn't equated with a body part, we're just going to keep on keeping on this way. I've been thinking so often about the fact that, like with breast cancer, as long as we can make it appear that we have breasts, then everything's okay. And I'm just really, really tired of it. We need to consider how breast cancer impacts women. Women. Don't care about men in this. I mean, I care about men who have breast cancer, but I'm so tired of everything. I just feel like my life is in some ways a commodity for what I can provide, in the world of men and women. And I don't know. That's what I've been thinking about. And so I woke up today and this thought came into my head. I think it's probably because of thinking about, the commercial and some of the chatter that's been on Instagram about it, that I really appreciate that people are kind of calling it out and saying that we have to do this differently. We are not just breast, and there's more to us than that. But in thinking about those things, I then, these words kept coming up to me. Sometimes I look at the lines on my face and I think, man, I should have done more to prevent that. Sometimes I look at my bank account and I feel shame that there isn't more there. Sometimes I think about my career and I find myself wondering why I didn't take more chances. Sometimes I look at my body and I blame it for all that it isn't. And sometimes I think about my life and I realize that I had bigger things to worry about. breast cancer came into my life at 26. And all it mattered then was being alive. It didn't matter if I had breasts or not. It didn't matter if I had a job or not, although that was pretty important. All that mattered was being alive. People say that you spend your 20s figuring out who you are and what kind of life you're working towards, and your 30s building that life. But that's not true for those of us with breast cancer. It's not true for more than just that group, but this is the group that I know and care about. If I had a magic wand and I could speak to people about the things that really matter to me, it would be these things. I realized that I didn't do anything wrong, but now in my 50s, having lived with metastatic disease for 26 years, one, I am both so privileged to be here, but also I had a huge disadvantage to building the life that I thought I was going to have. And everybody, not everyone, but a lot of people just tell me that I should be grateful. If you are living with breast cancer, you can be mad. You should be mad. Like, you should be mad that you get shamed about what you did wrong. You should be mad that we don't have better resources or treatments. You should be mad that your dreams got ripped out from under you. I think about, there's a video that kind of lines up a bunch of people on a starting line, right? And it's like say it's a 50-yard dash. And before they start the race, they say, okay, take 2 steps forward if you have this. Maybe it's parents who stay together. Take 1 step backwards if this. And something else. Take a step forward if you had access to, college or whatever. Like all of these different things. And I wonder where breast cancer would be when you look at that. Like, how many steps backward do we take when we live with breast cancer? How many steps do we lose on that ability to climb a corporate ladder or just do life? And then the crazy thing is that as we keep going, and maybe we live, right? Then we forget about that starting line and how far back it took us. And when like at my stage right now, where I'm comparing myself to others, which I know I shouldn't do, but also is the natural thing to do, and also what we're told to do all the time, I look at that and go, well, why aren't I there? Why haven't I gotten across the finish line yet? Why haven't I done more? Why haven't I, like all of these things, and I blame myself. And then it's such a crazy circle and spiral. And as I blame myself, I think, no, wait a second. You had to consider other things. And that sends me thinking to like the Maslow's hierarchy of need. And the fact that like the very basic bottom of that pyramid is physiological needs, like food, water, sleep, shelter. And I would say that's health also, right? So when you're talking about being able to live your best life, the goal is to be able to meet those needs without even having to think about it. And in the world of cancer, that's all you think about. You think about, is your body doing what it could be doing? Is your body in pain? Is your body, all of these things? Is it working? Is it not working? What's next? The second level of that hierarchy is safety, like security, stability, protection. And when I think about that in cancer, I think it's even just like your mental health, right? Like this, how do you stay in a place where your brain and your thoughts cannot be 100% of the time fear-based, fight or flight, worried about what comes next, right? This pyramid, we live it in the bottom two places, right? With safety and physiological needs. And we're never able, I shouldn't say never, because again, you are listening to me think out loud, and I do like to correct myself about things like that. But it is so much harder to then get to the next levels, where maybe you can think about, financial things. What does a career look like? What are my goals? What kind of life do I want to live? All of these things that without cancer could be what you're pouring your whole soul into, what you're able to focus on 100% of the time. I talk about this sometimes because I work in education, and we'll get kids that come to school and they're having a really rough day. And I love you teachers, but sometimes there's no thought of their day versus what you were trying to accomplish. And it's like, I sometimes will talk about the story of I wear a contact. I wear one contact to help me read close up, right? I had LASIK years ago, so I can see far away, but now I wear one contact so I can see up close. And there are days, for whatever reason, that contact just doesn't go in very well. Sometimes I do get it in, but it's irritated my eye. You kind of get one shot with that sort of thing. So I might have it in, but it just doesn't feel great. Or sometimes for whatever reason, maybe it's in kind of backwards or whatever, like inside out, like it just dries out faster. But I think about all of the irritation that like this one contact can do to me as I'm kind of trying to go throughout my day. And then I think about like little kids, and I think about them coming into school, and maybe that day, maybe nobody got them up, or maybe somebody got them up and said, you got to go to school, and started out in a way that was terrible. Maybe they didn't sleep last night, or maybe they're living in a house with 7 other people and there's not enough room. Maybe the heat wasn't on. Maybe they're just very out of sorts. And I think sometimes we just forget about all of this. What needs are they trying to meet? What needs are we as cancer patients trying to meet? And why do we expect people to be at these higher levels all the time, even with huge obstacles in their way, when we, like I as an individual, know how irritated I can be by one contact lens? Why is it so hard to not only extend grace, but offer assistance to people when they need help, and to do it over the long term? Like they talk about, we talk about how a tide rising lifts all the boats. Like, when did it become such a terrible idea to lift all the boats? And why is it that we're so expectant of people to just do things themselves or get over things and keep moving? Why do we pretend like bad things go away or don't have effects? I don't even know what my point is today, other than to tell you that I understand that cancer is a lifelong struggle. And I understand that we are not in any way providing the support that we need to people in general. We I know it makes people uncomfortable to have to deal with hard things, and so therefore we kind of like to smooth over them. But in doing that, in like sucking it up and moving forward, we are not acknowledging the fact that the issues that we are dealing with in trying to live with cancer are systemic, and we need to do it different. We just need to do it different. I find it absolutely atrocious, especially here in the United States, that we scoff at GoFundMe's for people, but we also don't provide health insurance. We expect people, I don't know, we expect people to like make miracles happen or just live off the mercy of others and be able to like condemn them for doing that. It really irritates me. And when I go back to that whole sometimes I wish and sometimes I think that I was talking about earlier, it makes me realize that I just have to think about that differently. I can say, sometimes I look at the lines on my face and I think, man, I should have done more to prevent that. But I can also realize that one, I had no idea that I would make it to 50 years old, let alone 52. And also, it didn't matter. And it's still, honestly, it still doesn't matter. And there's a part of me that's like, age with grace and be happy for what you have. And I do want to live like that. But I also want to recognize that I didn't have the time to think about. I was more worried about a bone met than anything else in my 20s and 30s. I was more worried about progression or anything related to cancer, all of the fun side effects that have come with it. And then when I go to the next one, sometimes I look at our bank account and I feel shame that there isn't more there. And I just go, more how? Like, how could we have done that differently? Was I supposed to work full time through all of my treatment and give myself what I had left over at the end of the day and hope that that was enough to still be here? Was I supposed to, I don't know. I don't know what I was supposed to do, but I just know that we couldn't accumulate wealth and focus on me living. It wasn't possible. And so to feel shame at something that I made a choice about, but also didn't feel like I had a choice about, it's really hard. It makes me mad. I didn't do anything wrong. Sure, there are things we could have made some choices, but the fact that we did prioritize memories over some things, I wouldn't change that. And again, it feels like a tragedy to me that we only give that kind of grace to people who have gone out and made their money and done that kind of thing. Sometimes people just get dealt a really crappy hand. And that's what cancer is, especially in your 20s and 30s. Sometimes I think about my career and I find myself wondering why I didn't take more chances. And then I look at that and I go, I didn't take more chances because safety has to come first. healthcare has to come first. The ease of employment had to come first over being able to take risks. Now, for some of you, again, like, that's not a big deal. But for me, it feels like I missed out on something. And I'm not saying I can't build it now. I can, and I will, and all of that will happen. But I literally remember thinking about how many sick days, having sick days, and all of the things that came with a really stable job that didn't fulfill me versus going out and choosing the riskier path. Sometimes I look at my body and I blame it for all the things that it isn't. I know on here I've talked a lot about saying thank you to your body, and I do try to do that. But I also would be lying if I didn't just go, like, what is this? What have I become? It's not the body that I envisioned, and it's certainly not the body that is glorified on breast cancer ads on the Super Bowl. Like, we put so much value on a way a woman looks that it just makes self-esteem a challenge when that body image is changed. Never mind the fact that I haven't had hormones like menopause at 26. That changes things immensely as well. And I'm fine. I'm getting through it. But is it the best? No. Right now, also on Instagram, a lot of my feed is filled up talking about HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and how the whole study was botched and maybe not botched, but like the results of it, were basically like, oh, that's not good for women. And that wasn't true. And so now they are unlocking the doors to HRT, and I'm all for it. But also, there's a huge portion of us who cannot access things like that. And to not be able to access that, there's implications for bone health, for just early aging, for libido, for all of those kind of things that help you live a long, healthy, happier life. And it's not an option. So one more thing because of cancer that's just not on the table. Ugh. And sometimes I think about my life and I realize that I had bigger things to worry about. I just want you to know, I know that you have bigger things to worry about. And I know that we're never going to be able to catch up to a life without cancer. We can find the good in it. We can be grateful to have a life, for sure. But I get it. I understand the challenges, and I wish we talked about them more. And I wish that I could talk about them and not be considered a bitch for doing so. I just don't think that we live in that world. I think we are expected to pull ourselves up from our bootstraps, put on a smile, not make people uncomfortable, and keep going. And I don't know what that looks like for you. I would love to talk more about these kind of things. Not to be negative, but to be real. It is not easy what we're doing. And some days are going to be a lot easier than others. And I just want you to know that even for me, at this stage where I don't most days have to deal with pain or even a lot of treatment, things like that. But I do deal with the effects that having had cancer for 26 years is, right? Like what that looks like. And it's not easy. And I know other people have tough lives too, but I just wanted you to know, as the people that are here living with breast cancer and metastatic disease, that I'm with you on that. And if there's anything that I can do to use my voice, I would love to do that. I'm an Enneagram 8. I love to fight for justice. I see a lot of injustice in breast cancer. And yeah, if you have thoughts on that, please reach out in the comments. If you feel like this stuff isn't getting talked about enough, I would love for you to share this episode with somebody. Yeah, let's do some real talk about breast cancer. Let's find a way to put the real issues on the table and to be able to live gratefully, but also in our truth. Thank you.